My 48 male stepdaughter, Hannah, 18, is going to attend college soon. I've known her for around 4 years since I married her mother. The issue, though, is that we've never gotten along. I've always tried, but she always says that she doesn't like me and wants her real dad. When I tried to tell her stuff or scold her for behaving out of order, she'd say, "You're not my father. You're just some stranger." My wife, Emily, asked her to behave appropriately as well, but she didn't care to listen. And in the end, she stopped telling her. I had to pick Hannah up from school once, and when a couple of people who didn't know I was her stepdad asked her who I was, she said, "Oh, he's a servant, actually," in front of my face. I was extremely mad at that, and it even resulted in a huge argument, although she played it off as a joke. But this was the last straw, which happened a few months back. After that, I've always treated her as if she's invisible and barely had any interactions with her unless necessary. Well, she talked to me recently and said she has to apply to college and wants me to pay her fees. I refused and asked her to ask her real dad, who refused to pay for it himself. She began to protest and said I was affecting her education and that I couldn't do that. But I didn't relent and said she's not my business now. My wife says refusing to pay is wrong, and I overreacted, even though she's not nice to me. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Tell her you can't afford it on your servant's wages. Seriously, her 2 birth parents have had 18 years to save up for her college education. You've had 4 years of putting up with her rudeness, with no backup or support from your wife, her mother, and she has the temerity to speak to you now that she wants your money? Now she can have 4 years of missing out on her dream college and think about how treating someone as less than human isn't a good life strategy. She began to protest and said I'm affecting her education, and I can't do that. You can. It looks like Hannah finally learns a good adult lesson about consequences. At 18, she's not owed money by anyone, and if you ruin a relationship, you risk not being helped in times of need. It must have felt good to tell that brat she should fix her own education. Where was your wife in the last 4 years? Why is she not backing you up here? Why did she not save money for her daughter's future? She's known for the last 18 years that this was likely coming. Man, your wife and stepdaughter are idiots. Yeah, the entitlement in saying, "You can't do that," is wild. The wife is definitely a huge idiot, in my opinion. She's ignoring the husband, OP, and OP's daughter's needs. It sounds like her daughter should have been in therapy ages ago, before this whole thing escalated to the point where OP avoids the stepdaughter altogether. This is not a healthy environment at all, and I would be so uncomfortable if I were living with them. I feel the "don't bite the hand that feeds you" is kind of fitting in this case. It's plain stupidity to be rude for 4 years and then suddenly expect someone will happily throw money at you. Ultimately, it's your money, and you're entitled to spend it however you please. And I would also beg you not to pay Jack regarding her college. As I said, she refuses to treat you like her parent, but at the same time, expects all the benefits of you being her parent. Screw that. When you married the mother, did you intend to pay for Hannah's college? Did you make any promises? Does the mother intend to help her daughter at all? Why did her bio parents split? And were you involved in that? Honestly, this seems like an everyone's the idiot here situation. She obviously resented you for whatever reason. Maybe she felt you were the reason her parents split. Maybe her bio dad constantly talks crap about you. Hard to say, but she was a kid. It was your job and, more importantly, her mother's job to help her acclimate and form a bond with you. No matter how horrible what she said to you was, you are a fully realized adult. Walking around your home and ignoring her for months is beyond childish and, quite frankly, extremely toxic. If you think that's an okay way to behave with your wife's children, you shouldn't have married a woman with children. It sounds like you and your wife failed Hannah when she was a young teen, though, to be honest. And it sounds like she was neglected, and now she's lashing out. I, 24 female, have a twin sister, Maisie, 24. Maisie's pregnant with her first and due in February, and the baby will be a boy. Last week, she opened up to me and said that she and her husband, 26, have been fighting over baby names, and she said she's sick of hearing about it and wants to settle on a name that they both like. Maisie and her husband are both a bit geeky, not that there's anything wrong with that, and she told me she wants to name the baby Luffy, as in the character from One Piece. Her husband doesn't want this name and says the kid will be bullied. She asked for my honest opinion, and I told her that the name was silly, and her husband was right. I tried to say this gently, but really, how gently can you tell someone their idea is stupid? I suggest she go back to the drawing board on that one and look at names of lesser-known anime characters, if that's really what she wants. And Maisie got upset and said the name is cute, and we're both just being close-minded. I told her she asked for my honest opinion, and she got it. She kept trying to convince me that it was a good name, and the conversation was becoming hysterical. And I told her it was a stupid name. End of discussion. She started crying and left, and since then, she's been giving me the cold shoulder. Our parents told me to tell Maisie I'm sorry because my words upset her, and I should have been nicer about it. Not the idiot, and it is a stupid name for a child outside of the anime world. She can give the baby a normal name, but call him Luffy as a nickname or something. And I would remind Miss Maisie that kids grow up. Does she want her child to be a 40-year-old guy still dealing with being named Luffy when that anime's been forgotten by all but those with nostalgia for it? The mom-to-be is insane. Luffy is not a good name for a child, in my opinion. It's more suited for a stuffed animal, a new innovative pillow brand, or a perfect name for a cat. You have a unique name without it being comical. That's a terrible name for an actual child. Kids are brutal. They'll find any reason to bully if they're inclined to bully, but parents don't need to hand them material. I think some people tend to forget that their baby's going to grow up and have to live with that name as an adult in the real world. It's cute. It's a terrible reason to choose a name. I knew a girl growing up with a name similar to Glitter. She changed it because she was tired of being asked what her real name was, not her stripper name. Also, Glitter is cute for a horse, not someone trying to get into law school. I'm a nearly adult female. My sister Cassie, 22, is one of those people who's a bully to everyone and justifies it by saying, "I'm keeping it real." She knows it's wrong because she only does it to family when nobody who could affect her school or professional reputation is watching. It's obvious no one in the family likes Cassie's bad attitude, but usually no one says anything because then Cassie gets overly defensive and turns it into this huge fight with yelling, and my family doesn't want to deal with the drama. My family celebrated Thanksgiving last week at my grandparents' house, since we're all going to be in different places on the actual day. During dinner, Cassie looked over my cousin Molly's teen female shoulder and saw she was reading a webcomic. Then Cassie started talking about how the webcomic is overrated, calling Molly basic and making fun of her for reading it. I was especially irritated because I like hanging out with Molly, but she and her parents are rarely willing to visit in person because Cassie's always causing issues like this. I told Cassie that Molly's allowed to like what she likes, and there's no reason to be rude when Molly isn't bothering anyone. Cassie made an excuse like, "Well, I'm just being honest," and I told her that she didn't have the excuse of just being honest because nobody asked for her opinion in the first place. Cassie got angry and started going off about how you may be too dumb to know, but she has free speech and doesn't need permission to speak, which was not the point at all. My mom asked me and Cassie to just drop it, but Cassie kept trying to get the last word in. I got fed up and snapped at Cassie. I told her she bullies everyone, and no one says anything because they don't want to put up with the drama, but I'm sick and tired of her being a jerk to everyone, which was all something I've wanted to tell Cassie for a long time. Cue the yelling and waterworks from Cassie. She went on about how no one ever lets me talk, no one listens to her opinion, blah, blah, blah. She tried using guilt to get people on her side, and the whole night was tense after. When we got home later, my mom told me that I humiliated Cassie and that I'm in the wrong. She said she knows Cassie is frustrating, but I know that's just how my sister is, and I'm supposed to ignore her. And I gave everyone a headache by provoking her and causing the drama of her crying and yelling at Thanksgiving. It's been a week, and Cassie's still in a bad mood. I thought what I did was justified, but it seems like Molly's the only person in my family who thinks I did the right thing. I realize it wasn't the most civil route, but I still feel that Cassie brought it on by being a bully in the first place. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your family may want to enable Cassie's bad behavior, but that doesn't provide you with an obligation to do it. Indeed, the only way to break Cassie from her bad habits is to call her out consistently. You'll also need to call out the rest of your family consistently on their enabling behavior and spur them into improving themselves, as it were. Note that the victim of Cassie's toxicity is happy that you called Cassie out. Only the people who weren't victimized think you shouldn't have done it. That's quite telling. Cassie's already an adult, at least she's supposed to be, and 22 is too old for this crap. I'm 22 and I know how to be a decent person. Sure, I'll give my besties and my siblings some loving teasing every now and then, but there's a massive difference between LOL, I don't get how you like this music, and this music is so basic and sucks so hard, so you're just as basic and sucky. Cassie deserves to be called out. This is obviously selective behavior, so it's not like she can't control it. This is classic triangulation. Family systems often center cohesion and agreeableness as the core values, so bad behavior gets normalized for the sake of getting along, whereas the person calling it out is labeled disruptive and scapegoated. Your family sucks, OP. They weren't keeping the peace. They were buying it from a miserable and abusive gutter snipe and using your cousin's dignity as the coin. Never trust someone willing to sacrifice another's dignity for their peace. You are a star for defending your cousin. Your whole family needs therapy. My sister, 45 female, and her daughter, tween, came to stay with me and my wife, both 28, and our kids, tween baby, following my sister's divorce. My niece's bio dad has never been present, and my sister's ex-husband wants nothing to do with her, despite raising her. Due to this, my sister is severely depressed, and my niece has been acting out. My sister honestly can't handle it, and it's made her spiral further. She sleeps a lot. Both my niece and her are now in therapy. My niece's friend came over 3 nights ago and hasn't left yet. Since this girl arrived, both my daughter and my niece haven't been very nice to my son, purposely making sure he isn't included, to the point of making comments to him for something simple like him going into the living room when they're watching a movie. They're taking girl time to the extreme, and they've been spoken to several times about it, and I thought it was getting better. Well, I got home from work today, and my wife was noticeably angry. She says, choose what you want for dinner and go wake your sister up, because I'm not feeding her kid or her kid's friend. Apparently, about 30 minutes prior, the girls were over the top mean to our son, and it made my son rage out. I told my wife that I understood her frustration, and I was there to help her now. She said through gritted teeth without looking at me and gripping the sink to the point of white knuckles, go wake your sister, because I'm not feeding her kid and her kid's friend. I'm done. My sister hears and comes down and gets into it with my wife about her lack of empathy for denying kids food, and I agreed with my sister. I understand this is hard and that the girls are being idiots, but don't deny a child food. She told us all to get out, technically her house, and that I had better never darken her doorstep again. My sister and niece are very triggered by my wife, and we're both crying profusely. Am I the idiot? Your wife is not your sister's handmaiden, childcare, or therapist. I empathize with your sister, but she's passing over her responsibilities to your wife, and that's not on. She's grown and has children. Checking out is not an option. It's a bit rich to accuse your wife of lacking empathy when your family has essentially handed all domestic tasks to her for what sounds like to be an indefinite period. You are the idiot, and so is your sister. And no one denied her child food. There was plenty of food available. She didn't refuse food to the kids. She said that your sister could make the food for her and her daughter and her friend who've been mean to your kid. The daughter your sister isn't parenting at the moment and apparently has a free game with her friend who's also staying at the house. Why? And you side against your wife and therefore against your kid? Your wife isn't a doormat and her concerns need to be respected. Good on your wife for kicking everyone out. Your sister and niece need to get their act together somewhere else. Grief is not an excuse to be an idiot, and they both were. You need to get your head out of your butt and realize that your responsibility is to your wife and child first. Their needs are number one above everyone else, and any other future guest need to be short-lived and respectful and courteous as heck, or be sent packing, period. My girlfriend Lisa, 26, and I, 26 male, have been dating for some time now. She invited me to her house to meet her parents yesterday, and I agreed to that. I knew that her dad was an Army veteran, and she told me he was rather strict, but I was not expecting exactly how stringent he was. I arrived 10 minutes late because I was caught in traffic. He accused me of not being punctual and said, "I've raised my daughters to be strict with timings, and apparently you're not." I told him I was stuck in traffic, but he didn't care. Later, when they served me delicacies, I was not closing my mouth while chewing, or that's what he said. I was not chewing with it open in a rude manner, but he said that I shouldn't open it even a little bit while eating, as that's what's respectful or something. I should have it in my mouth fully closed, which is really hard to do. I was frustrated, but I didn't say anything else. He also asked me whether I exercised daily, and I said no. He asked me what time I woke up, and when I answered, he said, "That's not ideal at all, and it's going to harm you and Lisa if she marries you." And then he asked me what I do for a living. When I told him I was studying and what it was, he said, "But you'd get paid well after university, won't you?" Honestly, I lost my temper and said, "Look, I came here to visit you and not get lectured or ordered around. You were in the Army, but that doesn't mean you can act rudely like that to me." He did not take that well. It got into an argument, and they told me later that I was really disgusting for disrespecting someone of that position. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. He was being an idiot. It had nothing to do with being a veteran, just a plain garden variety idiot. You have to lay those boundaries down now, or you set the precedent that it was okay for him to treat you like that. Though honestly, I don't think it matters. Unless your girlfriend start doing some serious standing up to her father, she's likely to stay single for the rest of her life. There's no way her exes put up with that for long. I was about to say, I don't see this relationship lasting long, if it even lasted after this encounter. Heck, I'd have just walked away and left if it was me. There was nothing you could have done to be on his good side. You're dating his daughter, ergo you are the enemy. You could be a Harvard medical student about to graduate at the top of your class, and you wouldn't be good enough. I've never understood this toxic attitude. I disagree. Everyone's the idiot here. You're an idiot for chewing with your mouth open, even a little. Man, what the heck is that? Close your mouth when you chew. That's just basic manners. Don't act offended by being called out on this. Stop being defensive and just listen. For every one time someone calls you out on something like that, there were probably 10 other times no one said a thing, but judged you on your bad manners. Take it and learn from it. He's an idiot for acting like he's some authority over you. However, asking about your career prospects would be a normal thing for a dad to ask for his daughter's boyfriend.